appropriate. Let me see if I can zoom. So I had my coaching call yesterday, and one of my requirements for my coach is that nothing's allowed to be recorded, right? I'm like, I won't allow him to do any sort of screen recording, audio recording, nothing. I don't even like it when a cyberbacker's on the call. It's just, the standard for me if he wants to coach me. Well, apparently he's got a new Zoom AI bot that records the Zoom calls and sends out a summary. So it sent out a big summary, and it's like massive, right? It literally has like 32 action items that I'm supposed to complete the next week, according to the Zoom summary. I'm not doing it. But here's my favorite line. Aaron and Wes discussed an upcoming trip to Maui, and Wes joked about the only thing he does in Hawaii is overdrink rum and lays on beaches. Thank you, Zoom AI. Terrible. It's terrible. All right. 2 more minutes and then we'll get rolling. This thing keeps giving me a setup professional audio. Landon, are you seeing that? Okay, you guys don't see that? It just keeps flashing the screen. I have to hit OK to get it to go away. So weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that would be. It's not showing on our end.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Corey, how's your year going so far? 9 days in, 10 days in. Whoa.
It's good. I ended the year really well with 3 closings and capping. So that was like my goal. So I have 6 more months that I get all of my commission, which was
the best.
Huge. So yeah, I have one buyer right now, and I think like 8 in my pipeline that are just waiting for inventory.
Okay.
So
email me what you need. I will find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
So I think totally the Lord.
Oh, 100%. Also, thank God for Gary Keller. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I interviewed 11 brokerages before finding KW, like literally in person, went to brokerages. And it wasn't until Joplin KW said no. And I kind of got angry about that one. They ended up firing the guy that bounced me. To be fair, I probably would have bounced me at that time too. But Springfield took me in with open arms, and they were the only ones that had a capping model at the time. I mean, literally the only ones. And I was like, anyone who doesn't choose this for the training and capping, crazy,
It is nuts. And everybody, I think the biggest thing I see other agents that don't want to come to Keller Williams is they're so hung up on the capping, but not realizing the other fees that the other brokerages, and they come so close to Keller Williams. Yep. It's mind-boggling to me.
It's wild. And a lot of companies that cap, they don't have the training and coaching.
No.
You know what I mean? So it seems to be like this trade-off of like, hey, we won't take as much of your commissions, but we're not really going to bring you value. And then on the other side, there's KW that's like, hey, we get to bring a ton of value. Katski, let's go. I love it. Is that a cat or a dog behind you? Looks like a dog.
3 dogs.
3 dogs. Oh, with a name like Cat, I was kind of hoping we'd have a herd of felines.
I'm in Rolla, Missouri. We haven't met yet, I don't think.
I'm sorry, what town?
Rolla.
Oh, awesome. Welcome. We've not met. My name's Wes. I'll be your clown today.
Awesome.
Love it. Awesome. It looks like Tammy joined us. We got a few Tammys in the company. Tammy, if you don't mind, throw your name in the chat so I know which one you are. I think we have multiple Tammys. How's Rolla right now, Cap? Oh, sorry, you just muted, and then I'm going to take you off it.
Sorry, totally covered. Lots of snow.
Yeah. Yeah, we got it pretty bad down here. Apparently, Kansas City got a double dose, especially like out east.
Yeah.
So they already had 5 inches hit from that last storm. They got a little bit more earlier in the week, and they just got hit again.
Yeah. It's same for us here, too.
Jeez. Oh, all right. From Chadwick. I had a feeling it was you. Thanks for hopping on, Tammy. Chadwick. Hey, I have a buyer for really cheap Chadwick land. They really like the forested funky stuff, and they usually try to buy it extremely cheap. So if you've got any useless land, She says, good luck. I know. I've sold them 2 pieces in 5 years and can't seem to find anything else. Oh, man. All right, it is 10:07. We're gonna get rocking and rolling. By way of introduction, I would love to introduce myself, our team, who we are. If you find any, let me know. Tammy, I'm on it. All right. There's got to be a backwoods mobile home that someone's abandoned. We can find that thing. All right, so by way of introduction, I'm going to start going with who I am, what this class is about, why I believe it's important to you. I'm going to walk through what you're seeing on the whiteboard already, and kind of just get us rolling here, if that's okay. I have got exactly 53 minutes, and for those of you that have taken my classes before, you know I'm extremely long-winded. So here we go. First things first, my name is Wes Litton. I'm going on my 10th year in real estate. I was licensed in 2015. I've been selling ever since, and I absolutely 100% bleed KW red in just about everything I do. 2 reasons for that. Number one, the values, okay? The MVVBP, the mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. And one of those core tenets is God, family, and then business. So whenever I'm teaching, that is my primary perspective. This is the lens through how I teach. So today, it's not just going to be why you need an assistant. It's going to be what would be the purpose, what is the actual benefit of allowing yourself the opportunity to become more whole of a person through your not only spiritual relationships, your key relationships, your relationships with yourself. So that's really the lens with which you're going to dive into this. Number 2, the second reason I love KW is kind of like we were talking in the introduction, there is seriously not a better place that is both affordable and brings an extreme level of value to you as an individual, both in your business and in your life. So for those of you that don't know me, when I got my real estate license, I was very young. I was 22-ish years old. No, not, I was 21. I was 21 years, no, 22. I was 22 years old when I got my real estate license. I bounced to 11 other brokerages and interviewed with them. I ended up landing here in Springfield after 2 local brokerages told me no, which was really fun. You know, puts a little bit of fire in your belly and you get the opportunity to go do something amazing with that fire. Thankfully, Keller Williams was the perfect place to house that. I was the, I think, 186th agent inside of Keller Williams Springfield. That was back when Melinda Love, who works with Adam Grady, was the MCA. She was actually the one that signed me up because every other leader in the Springfield market was at family reunion. So I walked into an empty KW office, signed the papers, and I didn't get a paycheck for the next 7 months. It was awesome. It was the best first year in real estate you could imagine. But thankfully, and to Corey's point earlier, the Lord sustained me through that time because I was able to plug into training, mentorship, and coaching that allowed me to figure out what I was doing wrong. Now, I'll be honest, those were really hard financial times. However, coming out of those things and utilizing the tools and the systems and the models that KW provided allowed me to really take off. So the remainder of that year, I was eligible to be a participant for the KW Springfield Rookie of the Year. So it was a wonderful opportunity and award that was won. And again, that was only by the grace of God and the grace of the people in our office. So what I'm bringing to you today, hopefully, is a little taste of that grace that I can pass to you. And hopefully this is going to be practical too. So it's not just spiritual crazy. It's also going to be on the other side where you guys can start thinking through a game plan as to who you're going to hire, why you're going to hire them, and really, do you need to hire or do you need to just find leverage? So at the end of this today, I hope you can kind of see a difference between maybe what you're going to do in the future versus where you're at now, or specifically what small pieces of opportunity for leverage you can find. So here's how we're going to go. If you guys could take out a piece of paper, you could also do this on your notes app or whatever, pretty basic stuff. I'm going to give you guys 10 points today, and we're going to use these 10 points as a scoreboard. So if you score like a 5 out of 10, so 5 of these are applicable to you, and you're like 5 out of 10, it's going to mean something, right? If it's a 2 out of 10, that's going to mean, if it's a 10 out of 10, it really means something. So scoreboard this sheet. What I did when I first started thinking through this myself was I literally put a 1 and a checkbox, and I went all the way down. So as I'm going through these, you guys can obviously take the notes if you'd like. I'll re-talk through and confirm each of these 10 points with you. And if you feel like it's you, just give yourself a check mark, right? At the end of that tally, I'm going to give you guys some suggestions based on the number of tallies you have. Is that fair? Sweet. Love it. Thank you guys for nodding and like thumbsing up and doing things like that. Because when I teach in person, I wander and I really want the interaction. So Zoom gets me a little nervous. So a thumbs up, a head nod, a wink, or whatever you want, a middle finger, whatever's fine. Okay. Here we go. Pretty relatable, I think you guys will find. My first year in real estate started slow, took off. My second year in real estate was wild. So that momentum continued. I found myself having not only my first child, but also having my first ever panic attack. It was a fantastic experience. And it also happened behind the wheel of my truck, which was another fantastic experience. And I found myself on the side of the road. I had actually launched the curb in front of our old KW office on Battlefield. I had found myself on that curb in my truck, almost like kind of coming to, realizing I'm a little overwhelmed. I hope that this class finds you in a time where you won't be there. You won't push it to the edge and find yourself there. Naively, I was very young. I was doing a lot of business. I was not necessarily grounded in terms of who I was yet. And also my focus was entirely make as much money as possible and burn the boats, right? While that can work at times in your career, for me specifically at that time, it highlighted a need, and that need was leverage. Leverage is simply the idea that I can hire someone to take things off my plate so I can do more of the things that I'm good at or want to do. Okay, so leverage is, people leverage specifically, is this idea that I can hire someone or a service to take things off my plate so I can do more of what I'm good at or like to do. I think that second part is really important. It's not just, oh, I can go, meet more people, do more open houses, have more dials. It's, I can do more of what I like to do. So I was having my first child. I was working 10, 12-hour days. I was flipping houses along with selling real estate too. I mean, it was a crazy time in my life. I ended up developing shingles. For those of you that do know kids, if you have shingles, you can't get around a baby because it will kill a baby, right? So for 4 months of my first child's life, or first 6 months, for the first 4 months, I couldn't even touch her. It was terrible. I couldn't even like hold her. Even if I had clothes on, doctor was like, absolutely no, do not do it. It was pretty terrible. It was a really rough experience. And frankly, I earned that myself through not following the systems and the models and the tools that were taught to me and thinking, hey, I've got this, I can do it on my own. So fast forward to today. A lot of you guys know us. Sam, who is on this call, she's our director of operations. She wasn't our first administrative hire, but she was our first true administrator that we hired. If that makes sense. We did it wrong one time. Sam now has helped build this company to an absolutely massive level. A couple things that you're going to see behind me on this whiteboard. I'm going to explain to you where we're at just in terms of our business so you get to know us. I'm going to explain to you some of the systems and the basic things we do to grow camaraderie and culture that by hiring an assistant, you get to start developing, which is really fun because it becomes your personality flowing through your business. But then also, just so that you know who I am, you also get to know how many times I've done this wrong. In fact, just recently went through a hiring process and it was decided that we weren't going to hire that person. Was that a cat? Oh my gosh, we finally got a cat on. All right. Do you have any cat skiing videos on your phone? Nothing? All right. I'm stuck on this today. I'm looking it up later. Okay. Real quick behind me. You guys are in our training room. So our team, we used to be in the annex where Shanna, the Shannex now, where Shanna's living and she's running the coaching program. So we used to occupy that. Look at that. I love it. Now she's in her gamer chair. She's ready to slay some Madden after this. So we used to be in the annex and frankly, we outgrew the annex. And at the time, our market center was full. And so we had to start looking off site. And finding this place off site, it was a blessing in disguise. It's also a burden. So, our rent is very expensive over here. So if you have the opportunity to stay on campus, please, please do. But by us leaving, we were able to find a little bit more of our personality specifically, while also maintaining the tie to the market center. So I'm pretty disciplined in trying to be in the market center as much as I can. And Rachel's doing her best to hold me accountable to that. So you guys are in our training room right now. It's available to you guys anytime you want. So if you need conference rooms or a training room, Shanna, feel free to pop over here, whatever works. We're just off Republic Road. Right behind me is our main whiteboard. Our main whiteboard is actually what we call our war boards. So war boards are this awesome kind of idea that is old school KW. And that is every morning in our morning huddles, we list our appointments over here on this aisle, or this side for you guys. These are all of our appointments so far this month. You guys can't see, but there's a little green mark next to them if that appointment's taken or not. So our team gets to huddle and celebrate what they've done the day before together, right? That's a huge piece of what we do. We're a big numbers tracking team. We want to see the data. We also want to get together and say, oh my goodness, Josh took 2 listings yesterday. Kevin took 3 listings last week, right? Samantha Ulrich took 3 from the same person, you know? We want to go celebrate those activities. That's part of my personality. It's also part of Sam's personality. We then track our under contracts and we track our close. And this is a monthly rhythm, right? It's a daily rhythm on the appointments and it's a monthly rhythm for our team. We know how many appointments we need. We know how many under contracts we need. We know what our closing goals are. So even if you're just an individual agent right now, you might be thinking, heck, I can't track all that stuff. And I know Command has that stuff built in, but like, that's just too much for me. Ding, ding. Maybe that's because you need some help. Maybe you need some organization, some leverage in your life. We're going to get into that. The next piece you're going to see is as you develop and you begin hiring and your administrative hire is your first one, you get to start doing things that start impacting people's lives on a more direct one-to-one basis. And that is one of my most favorite aspects of leadership. It's not necessarily that you have a big organization. It's that through your efforts, you can obviously write a paycheck for someone. I don't know if you guys know this, but receiving income is a big part of living and sustaining your life. So the ability to do that for someone through your efforts and the opportunities and the environments you've built is fantastic. You also get to start teaching them the mindsets that you've learned and developed over time through your interactions with KW. So our quote of the week, I'm going to read this to you. Samantha actually found this one. It is very applicable for us today. Very applicable. Here we go. Inaction. So inaction breeds doubt and fear. How many of you guys have ever found yourself scared, afraid, maybe a little bit anxious about money, production, that kind of thing? 100%. I know all of us have. Absolutely me. Action, however, breeds confidence and courage. Oh, how many of you guys have had months where you've just slayed it? You're confident, you're courageous, you're pumped up, you're energetic. This quote suggests that the difference is action, right? To continue, it says, if you want to conquer that fear, do not sit at home and think about it. Go out and get busy. I love that. I love that. It's not necessarily what you do or how perfect you do it. It's that you do it. So that's the crazy thing about lead generation. How many of you guys have ever been like, I'm going to commit to cold calling, and you start cold calling people, and then all of a sudden you get a random text message from someone that you didn't even call, and they're like, hey, would you show me a house? Like, that's how it works. In a weird sense, the activities you put out bring the results you receive, and they're oftentimes not connected, right? It's like a weird energy thing. I don't know. It's like bless others and be blessed kind of thing. It's wild. All right. Someone, KW Springfield loves the quote of the week. I agree, Landon. Go out and get busy, Nicole. Oh, Cass, first line says inaction. So inaction, I-N, then the word action, breeds doubt and fear. That's the one that like, it sits with me dark. I don't know about you guys, but like when I hear something convicting, that one, it sits with me. When I hear something uplifting, I'm like, yeah, I agree. But this doubt and fear, that one hit me hard. Okay. We then go to a word of the week, which whoever's doing the quote of the week picks the word of the week, and it's courage for us this week. So I hope that this class brings some courage as you guys move forward with leverage. And then I don't know if you can see it way down here. There's a thing that says BMF. For those of you that are interested, you can Google it. I'm not going to say the word, but the BMF is an award that our team, again, coming through personality, gives to whoever that week did the most production. So this is an entirely production-based award. Now, production is the basis of all of our cultures, right? If people at Keller Williams don't sell a house, there's no Keller Williams, right? So your organization and who you are, it flows through production. Number one, it's the key piece. BMF, we actually have ourselves a BMF belt, right? This belt is awesome. It's a big thing. There's a theme song. Every team meeting is handed out. Someone gets to put it on. They get to wear it for the week and they get to keep it for the week. It's a big deal. What I really want to do, Sam, and we should probably figure this out, is do a BMF tracker to see who like the biggest BMF winner is every year. Okay. You guys now see our culture a little bit. You see, we're very production oriented. We get to know people on a one-to-one basis. We're focused on bringing life into who they are. And then we're also highly production focused. And all those things can actually go together. Okay. Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. You've got a list in front of you. You've got numbers on one side. You've got check boxes next to it, right? We took a piece of paper. We numbered it 1 to 10. We have little check boxes next to it. We're going to start with the number one sign that you might need to hire an assistant. Some of these are going to feel redundant, but they're a little bit nuanced. So I'm going to go through each of them. We're going to take maybe a minute or two on each of them, and you're going to be grading yourselves as we go, right? Now, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tie this in at a higher level to something that is more important than just production. And then from there, we're going to start open dialogue and conversation. I am a little bit limited on time today, but I can stretch beyond 11 if I'm allowed to, and if you guys have time. So here we go. Number one, you are overwhelmed by administrative tasks. Woo! Ha! Got me. Sometimes that's a personality thing. Like sometimes as salespeople, it's like, look, I'm really only good at making messes. Like that's really what I'm great at. Outside of that, like I need help. So number one, you're overwhelmed by your administrative tasks. That could be anything. That could be literally paperwork. It could be sticking a sign in a yard. It could be vacuuming your office. I mean, literally anything business oriented that would be more administrative, that is not just relationally focused. Now, don't get me wrong, administrative tasks help cultivate and build relationships. However, we're saying in sales specifically, if you're overwhelmed by administrative tasks, that would be a sign that you probably need some leverage. Great example of this is emails. Emails are the bane of my existence. I hate them. I also hate a really crowded inbox. So I'm this weird anomaly of like, I get a crap ton of emails and I hate them, right? So rather than ignoring them, I just want to like read them really fast or just delete them. Like, I don't know why that is the way I am. I try to respond pretty timely, but 90% of the time I'm just like, I hate emails. Now I equally hate text messages, right? Now, most of all, I hate Facebook notifications, right? So I'm like, if you'll just call me, simple, done, easy. If I answer, great, I'll call you back later. That's Wes, okay? Now, here's the interesting piece. Everything that I just mentioned is completely leverageable, right? Except for the face-to-face, voice-to-voice. So if you're a salesperson, your job is to get face-to-face. Some people call it belly-to-belly, which seems super weird because I'm good, you know. I mean, I like my wife, but that's about it. None of you are getting belly-to-belly. However, message to message is completely leverageable. So text messages, emails, Facebook, all of Facebook is leverageable, right? You know what's really interesting? And I brought this up yesterday at our team's team meeting. Gary Keller every year brings up people at these events and he has these panels on social media. How are you using social media? How are you using this new technology? How are you? And then if you ask Gary, hey, Gary, how are you using social media? You know what his response is? I don't have one. He doesn't have a social media. Someone on his staff has a social media in his name that they run, right? He doesn't have one. If you ask Gary, you know, how often are you, creating new content and pushing it out? He's really not at all, unless the content creators for KW ask him to be on something, right? Very rarely is Gary doing anything other than getting face-to-face, voice-to-voice with the people that bring the most impact in his business. So if you're thinking through number one, am I overwhelmed by administrative tasks? The easy indicator for that is, am I getting face-to-face, voice-to-voice with the people that could bring the most opportunity in my world? And if that answer is no, you have a check mark on number one. Number two, missed deadlines and meetings. That's Wes. Oh, how many of you guys have ever missed an inspection notice deadline? Oh yeah. You know how good that feels? Terrible. That is the worst feeling in all of real estate sales, is missing a deadline. I mean, to be fair, we've done it plenty of times, and you're going to do it. But if you find yourself constantly running up to deadlines and being like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, or pushing meetings a lot, that's another key one. Is you're constantly having to push meetings back 30 minutes, an hour, something like that. There's usually a key in there that you're going to need some help. So forgetting appointments is another one. So like, if you're like, oh, I'm going to make it to team meeting, and then you don't. It's like, wait a second. If you're making the commitment to go and you don't make it, what's causing that rub, right? Typically, there's an element of what we'd like to call busyness. The key phrase for a realtor is, I'm so busy. And whenever you hear that, you should think you're under leveraged. I'm so busy, I can't possibly make it to team meeting. You're under leveraged. Right. That's the reality. So check mark number 2, are we missing deadlines or meetings? Another way to say that is, are we always pushing them or having to reschedule them, that kind of thing. Plenty of reasons to reschedule a meeting. Don't get me wrong. It's just if you see a little bit of a pattern of that in your life. Another key indicator is in your inspection notice deadlines, are you constantly running right up to the end of that deadline or pushing that deadline and utilizing that specialist period when maybe it totally doesn't need to wait that long, or you actually don't need the specialist period? I'm guilty of that one, of being like, kind of crap. Oh, I forgot. I know we had that inspection. We talked about it. I was supposed to write it up. I gave it an extra day. Now I need a specialist extension, right? That's a key indicator of under leverage. All right. If you guys have questions on any of these, throw them in the chat. I'm the king of all of these issues. So if you've got a question or like, hey, what do you do about this? Throw it in the chat. I'll address it as we go. We're also going to have some Q&A after this. All right. Number 3, you have a very limited work-life balance. And I hate the idea of work-life balance. I just don't think it's a reality. The one thing teaches us that it's a trade-off. It's I have to work, and then I have to have some life, and then I have to have some work. But if it's very limited or it's very one-sided, like it's just kind of always work, or like you're trying to pull life into work and like somehow justify like, oh, well, just come meet me at the office and, hang out at the office with me for a little bit while I knock out this, string of emails or whatever. We're probably not giving a 100% to the people that matter most, our key relationships, our marriages, the spirituality of your own being. I mean, think about that one. Like when I think of work-life balance, I think family most of the time. Many of us don't think whole being, like my emotional health, my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health, right? So in your work-life balance, do you find yourself kind of constantly on the work side? Noah says, same. I need help knocking out inspection notices ASAP instead of waiting till day 7 to 10 every time. Noah got that check mark. Hell yeah, dude. I do too. It's okay. It's okay. Limited work-life balance is probably my number 1 continual reason for why administrative help is so important in my life. I definitely value my key relationships at a high level. And it really gets to me personally, mentally, and emotionally when I'm not investing in them the same way I invest in our team and our business. And I do understand that there's a counterbalance, kind of like Landon said in here. However, there are times where I do kind of want to be the tightrope walker a little bit, where I lean a little bit versus jumping off one side, trying to get back on and jumping off the other. If that makes sense. All right. Number 3, this one's a fun one. Oh, we just did number 3. Number 4, this one's a fun one. Difficulty delegating. Do you have difficulty delegating? You too might need an administrative hire. I don't know. I was trying to be commercially there. It didn't work. It's kind of like I help by phone and I can't get up. That's really what this one is I know I've got to do this. There's so much to do. It's up to me, right? I don't need live-in care. I'll wear a necklace with a button. That way, if I fall, I can press it and someone will find me right before I die, right? That's not what we're trying to do here. Administrative help is a bit more proactive than that. So if you find yourself having difficulty delegating, you're going to find yourself burning out quickly. Does that make sense? So if you find yourself on that brink of burnout or you approach that on a pretty regular basis, it might be, oh, spring and summer, I just work in the red. You're like the little RPM gauge in your car. You're just kind of on red all the time. But, oh, I'm not red. Oh, red again, right? If that's you, spring, summer, or even winter time, because sometimes winter gets crazy busy. you're finding yourself having difficulty because in slow seasons, you might not need the help as much. That for me is an indicator you probably do need to start delegating some things in some way. The other side of this is learning to delegate with your first hire is the best way to train that hire. So you might be thinking, well, I don't know how to just give things up. I don't want to give up inspection notices, or I don't want to give up my MLS data inputs, or I don't know, whatever the heck. I don't know who doesn't want to stop writing marketing remarks. That was a stupid example. Okay. But it might be, I don't want to run signs and lockboxes, or I don't want to whatever, do my compliance. Oh, compliance. That might be the worst part of our jobs is compliance. But anyway, all that being said, you're having difficulty delegating these things because you're the best at it, right? The reality is the best way to train your assistant is to do these things with them so that they learn how to do it like you do it, so that you can begin offloading those pieces that aren't vital to you earning more business. So basic idea here is your hardest tasks to let go of are probably the tasks you need to let go of, right? Particularly and we're talking about in the realm of an administrative hire, so administrative tasks. So a good example of that might be like database management. If you're like, oh no, only I can build the monthly newsletter, or content creation, only I can determine what I'm posting on social media, right? Those types of things, those are kind of cues that like, okay, maybe there's an opportunity there. Maybe I'm giving myself this check because I know this is an area I need to grow in to become a better business person, right? Also, if you can learn how to delegate in work, you get to learn how to delegate in life too, which is really fun. I have a guy that comes and picks up the dog poop in my yard. I don't have to do that anymore. It's incredible, right? I used to do it like literally 3 times a week. We have a tiny little dog run, and I've got a golden retriever, and Goldens are just the worst dogs ever. They're super sweet. They're just the worst dogs ever, right? Hair everywhere, poop everywhere. They're kind of lazy, but then they get all this energy. It's nuts. Anyway, that being said, 3 days a week, I was picking up our little dog run yard. Drove me nuts. I hated doing it. I just thought it was nasty, and it was taking away time. I would literally leave work like 15 minutes early just to make sure I could pick up the dog poop. I'm like, this is so stressful and stupid. Erica's like, I need that content. I got you. I got you. He's awesome. I will text it. Dockham Doggy Services. Yep, he's fantastic. So $20. He comes twice a month and picks up the dog poop. It's fantastic. You can pay him more. I think he's like 40 for once a week. It's fantastic. All right, number 5. So some of you already have 4 boxes checked. Cassie, go ahead.
Okay, and this might be more for Sam. Am I setting myself up for failure if I'm not good at the organization of the administrative tasks and I let my admin create those for me?
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your hire, so in your vetting process, you want to find someone that has experience or understands the idea of organizing chaos, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
because I'm chaos.
Based who has worked on systems before, because you know the basics on like, here's what I got to do to get the deal closed, right? They're going to take that to the next step and say, okay, let's create a system so that every time one goes under contract, these are the step-by-step processes, right? So that's going to be part of your vetting process is you're going to be looking for someone who can take your crazy and make it understandable. And that's what Sam's done so well for me early on. She took all of our it was mega chaos. We had 3 guys, no admin at that time because I hired completely out of order. Yeah. Sam rolled right into that. And within a year, we had doubled our production and we were organized. It was crazy. So hats off to her. But yeah, you're going to be looking for that kind of person, and they're different than us. That's the hard part is we like to hire our shadows. That's just naturally like, oh, more of me. Yay, right? That'll be good for our organization. However, if we kind of find the opposite of us, you're going to find someone who's going to be able to take that and make something amazing out of it. All right, number 5. So you guys have 4 check marks most likely now. Here's number 5. You're losing focus on your core responsibilities. This one's a really interesting one, and it kind of gets repeated later on here. But you're losing focus on your core responsibilities. Can anyone list, I think there's, 5 things a real estate agent's supposed to do? Can anyone list them? This is out of Bold and Ignite and pretty much all of Keller Williams things. All right, go.
Lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, script practice.
Dang, let's go. That is awesome. Okay. Guess what? We all lose focus on those things constantly, right? And you know what's the first to go? Script practice. You know what the second to go? Lead generation, right? So if you find yourself not script practicing, not lead generating, not learning, that is a key indicator, right? We call that drowning. That means you're swimming in the pool you've created. You're no longer adding water to it, right? So we don't want to be inside the pool. We want to be outside the pool. We want to be continuing to feed the machine, not being eaten by the machine. Okay. That's this idea, keeping your focus on those core responsibilities. So if you were to look at your calendar, and if you had to put every task that you do throughout the day on your calendar, including your personal items, are your core responsibilities on there. That will include dropping off kids to school. It will include meditation, eating correctly, physical working out, and health things, right? A lot of these things that are on the board behind me that we'll go through. All right, number 6. And this one's a sad one for me because I've lost a lot of really cool opportunities. Number 6, opportunities are slipping away. Oof, this one hurt. This one got me. Late follow-ups, someone lists with someone else. You get sent a deal that you might want to buy. Maybe it's a flip house, it's a cool opportunity, but you're so busy doing other things, you actually circle back to that one a day or two later and it was sold to someone else, right? An opportunity to serve in a capacity that would fill your bucket. Maybe it's a nonprofit, a church, a group that you really are passionate about, and you're so busy you can't serve, right? Or you think about giving, an opportunity to be the title sponsor on a local event for people that you really care about. And you say, okay, yeah, fantastic. But for whatever reason, there's a scarcity mindset because you're busy. You kick the email down the road, you circle back, and they've given it to someone else, right? There's all kinds of things that we lose sight on because of our busyness. And I'm using busyness as all the things, all the administrative tasks that we shouldn't be doing. Okay, opportunity slipping away. That one just probably cost me more currency emotionally and spiritually than it has, actual money. And at the same time, it's cost me a lot of actual money. All right. Number 7, overworked team or family members. This one's fun. Let's just go ahead with the team one real quick. It's pretty easy to spot burnout in team members if you're having one-on-ones and you're in relationship with them. You can see that. So if you're experiencing, if you have a small team or you're a spousal team or something like that, and you see some pain, some like, oof, like that's a big sign. But let's go to family members because I think that's probably going to be more applicable. When you come home and you engage your family, what is the general attitude of that engagement? Is it, oh, I'm so tired, I'm so stressed, I'm so, oh, how was your day? Oh, terrible, right? What is that energy? Okay. That for me is a key indicator. If that energy is super positive, it's energetic. I had a great day. It was wonderful. I was able to, for my wife likes me to talk to her at some point in the middle of the day. It really doesn't matter what that conversation is. It's like, just remember I'm alive, right? So if I am overstressed or if I'm overworking or I'm too busy to make a simple phone call, that definitely is communicating to her that maybe she's not as important as whatever that stupid thing I was doing, around noon. Now I look at it and I go, okay, a professional real estate agent who has their spouse running signs and lock boxes, unless that spouse is part of the real estate team, probably someone who needs some leverage, right? If that spouse is having to manage the finances of your business, probably somebody that needs some leverage. If that spouse is also your therapist for all of your business issues, we probably need some leverage. So there's a fun one for you. Ooh, don't like that one. Overworking your family members. Okay, that was number 7. We're getting over to number 8. My notes are all backwards because I printed them on 2 sides of a piece of paper and like upside down. It's really annoying. All right, difficulty managing personal errands. We've talked about this one. This is number 8. So some of you have 7 check marks. This might be your 8th check mark. Some of you have 2, some of you have 4, whatever. Just keep your little tally going. Difficulty managing personal errands. So I talked about my pooper scooper. He's a fantastic special guy. It's a job that I would never do, but someone will do it, right? So difficulty managing personal errands is a really interesting one. Sometimes as real estate agents, our hours worked are all hours. Other times it's no hours, right? So for instance, like on a Saturday, we might go pack that Saturday with a million things, and that'll be our one day. To be fair, that can work, and it can work for a time, but more likely than not, your life doesn't work on a 1 day a week errand situation, right? So I think back to, and this is so silly because I came from corporate prior to real estate, and I remember having to ask for time off so I could do things like get my oil changed, get my tires rotated, make sure that my house had whatever done with it. Like I would literally take days off to like go like service my life. It was wild. I think back on it, I'm like, man, how do people exist in that as single people, especially like single parents? Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. However, difficulty managing personal errands. So what ends up happening in real estate is because we don't have a set office hours, typically, we don't have set schedules, and we're kind of flexible in our schedules, we'll take our productivity time and we'll exchange it for us time. Oh, I can get my tires rotated at any time, right? And while that's a good thing, it's a definite benefit of being in real estate, a lot of times we'll do it at the cost of something that actually is productive, okay? So administrative hires can kind of keep you on track. Noah's like, I feel attacked. Noah just got new tires. Managing personal errands. So that's enough on that one. That one's pretty easy to understand. And there's plenty of leverage out there for it. If laundry, like you or like me, is your bane of existence, Sud Share. Pro tip, Sud Share. They literally come to your house, pick up your laundry, they go do the laundry, bring it back, folded and nice, ready for you. Pretty cool. But it's like the same cost as dry cleaning. So you just don't have to leave your house. Okay, enough of that. Your stress levels are rising. That's number 9. Your stress levels are rising. Woo! Yeah, now I feel attacked, Noah. Chronic stress is a real thing. Like, can we just go ahead and say that chronic stress, anxiety, fatigue, chronic fatigue, these are all real things that production-oriented salespeople experience on a regular basis. You've got to take care of yourself, right? I am a key example of someone who did not do that early in their career, still struggles to do it in my career, but I'm getting better at it. It's one of my actual focuses is continuing to figure out what I can get off of my plate so I can get some wholeness back, right? So chronic stress, your stress levels are rising. Juggling too much, just in general, even life and business, can lead to some serious health issues. For instance, Wes, I was the lucky recipient of shingles, right? The other side of this conversation is, what are you eating on a day-to-day, right? So food plays a direct impact on your stress levels and your anxiety levels. So if you find yourself so busy that you can't eat a healthy lunch, or you're missing your morning walks or your afternoon workouts or whatever it might be, or like Wes, you might have that cocktail at night when you probably don't need one, right? There are some key indicators in your life that you might be a little too stressed. Now, I'm a big fan of all things in moderation, right? So it's not that you can't drink. It's not that you can't have the greasy cheeseburger. It's not that you can't. It's that if it becomes habitual, right? If it becomes a part of your routine to get through the days, that would be an indicator where I would check that box. The other side, it's kind of like what we talked about. I was like, what's the energy in your home, right? If you're stressed, your family's going to be stressed. My 8-year-old feels my emotions. Like I walk in the house and instantly she's me. I don't know how she does it. It's weird. But if I walk in, I'm frustrated, she's immediately on edge, kind of anxious and frustrated. If I walk in and I'm happy, she's just lights up like joy, right? She immediately knows, and your families do too. Heck, my dog does. Immediately knows where you're at emotionally the moment you walk in the door. If you're finding that negativity is around, it's likely stress related. Okay. Number 10, and this one is not the most important, but for a lot of you, this is the one and the reason you're on the call, is you're trying to grow and scale your business, okay? So I kept it last because growing and scaling your business is the least important out of all of these, right? We talk about a whole person first, and then we talk about business, right? God, family, business. So let's be whole people, and now let's tie it into business. Look at that. Nicole, you're the best. You're trying to grow and scale your business. The number one hire and the most important hire for your career and maybe for all time is going to be your administrative hire. Now, listen, you'll get it wrong. It's okay. It's okay to hire and it be wrong and fire and move on and find someone right. That is totally okay. In fact, it's an extremely common pattern. Like every team I've ever been a part of, every team I've ever seen, my own team, this is the pattern. You hire, might not work out. It might work out. You might have to reorient their role, right? So for instance, my first administrative hire was Denver Tyndall on my team. For those of you that know Denver, he's our head ISA, you know, a completely different personality than an administrative hire. He came in as an admin and I thought, oh, this could kind of work. And then I realized he's somewhat of a reflection of a salesperson. Like, oh no, what do we do? He grew himself into the role of real estate agent. He found a love and passion for the database and lead generation, and that's the route he went, right? And then I was like, oh no, we need an administrative hire. It's okay that we went through that. We started the process. We ended up finding Sam. Now Sam hires our TCs and our listing managers and that sort of thing. And we've gone through a few of them, and that's part of that, right? Not everyone is the perfect person for the role, and not every role is perfect for the person. Also, sometimes there's a perceived match when you enter business together, and then those things kind of fall, right? The role becomes more than the person is capable or wants to be capable of, or vice versa. The person's more capable than the role can actually provide. That's okay. That's natural in business. Hiring, firing, transitioning talent, growing talent, moving talent should all be parts of your leadership. And that develops with time, and it develops through relationships. Okay. I'm going to pause here. I've talked for a long time. You've got the notes there. I've 12 minutes to 11. So I'm going to just pause for maybe like 5 minutes for any questions, comments, anything like that. Go. Riveting. I love it. Okay. You guys want to be vulnerable with me now?
Wes, I got something.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I found myself like on the fence on whether I should check it or not. So what are your thoughts?
Let's
around
go.
that? I was like, I feel like I'm doing okay here, but the more in depth I think about it, maybe not.
Which one?
A lot. Like limited work life number 3. Number 5, I feel like I do a pretty good job at that, but then you think a little deeper and like, well, maybe I'm not realizing it, but maybe I am. So
Yeah.
some of
Right.
them I was on the fence whether I should check or not.
Yeah, it's a good point. So all of these are going to be like a spectrum, right? So there's never like a yes or no. It's always a, oh yeah, I need help there, or actually I'm doing pretty good there, but I could probably still do better. So kind of up to you. What I internally did, and I kind of did it as we were walking through here, said, oh, this one really hit me. So when I was saying that, those were the ones that I put personal value on the most. So a good example, number 10, obviously growing and scaling a business. That's a passion of mine. Stress levels are rising. So I weighed those two very heavily. I would really weigh overwhelmed by administrative tasks and limited work-life balance as well. Your focus one, losing focus on core responsibilities, there are ways to get back to that don't include having to hire leverage, right? So training classes, calendaring, accountability, those kinds of things. So that one really, if you're like, I'm actually doing pretty good on my core responsibilities, awesome. Maybe that's not why you're hiring the administrative assistant, right? Or, onward agent services or whatever. All right. Noah's question, how did you find your leads for hire? That's a great question. All over the place. So we've hired through connections, but we've had almost like the best luck, seriously, through Indeed ads. I know this sounds crazy. Blast Indeed ads, cross-post them on Facebook, ask friends and family to cross-post them. We get a lot of Indeed ads. Samantha came through Indeed, which is crazy to think about, Our head listing manager, TC Michaela, she came through Indeed. Denver, my first hire, was a vendor and like past client kind of relationship. So I always reach out to those people in my world too and say, hey, who do you know? I will say something very unique with administrative hires. If you're hiring from another real estate team, it becomes really convoluted because they will be trained under someone. So for instance, the way I would train someone to do a job will be different than the way Shanna is going to train you to do the job, it might be the exact same job, might have the exact same result, but I might have preferences and Shannon might have preferences. I have a communication style, Shannon has a communication style, blah. So what I try to do is to hire outside of the real estate organizations or other real estate organizations. And I think that you just have kind of more of a blank slate to help organize and grow. The other side of it is bias is really big in our industry. So if we pull someone over from a Murney or a EXP or any competitor, they've kind of got some built-in biases of how things should run, right? I don't want that if I'm trying to reorganize and build a new system. I want someone who understands how to build a system and they're going to come into our organization and say, okay, this is how we perfect it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move over to Erica real quick. What's your best leverage, not work related, but personal time saver you have? Hooper Scooper was my favorite, but what else? Pretty simply, I would say lawn mowing and landscaping. I mean, that's like so time consuming. Now, some people are like, I love mowing my lawn. It's my baby. Cool. If it's a hobby, keep it. If not, that the best leverage for me internally is actually working out. I think that having a workout partner, just someone that every morning when I wake up, I know I've got to get to the gym because they're going to be there too. Having that connection is probably my next best because inside of doing something physical, I actually can find a lot of peace, right? So if I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, if I'm feeling a lot of stress, I can go do something physically and then that helps. I have recently picked up, well, somewhat, I've been off and on it, long distance running, which is like the worst thing ever. I hate it. But I have 3-inch inseam shorts and bright green shoes, and I like to go running now. I'm from Oregon. What can I say? But that being said, running with no headphones, no noise, just me and my thoughts, and allowing myself to think and meditate and have mind space and pray while I run has been amazing. I will notice I'm way slower with no headphones and no beat. Like I'm way slower. I get tired more easily, but it's really refreshing in terms of being who I am. So those are a couple like free or hacks that I found for me personally. Let's keep going here. It's like the 7 circles exercise. Nicole, these are the 7 circles. So we're going to get to that here really soon. Is there a perfect number or percentage of what you should spend on admin inside of your P&L? And how did you figure out what to pay them? Just market average. I didn't really have a whole lot of money or income at the time we hired Sam. So Sam actually took the job at $28,000, which was insane. So she makes a lot more than that now. And I think that's part of what you're pitching, right? Is I'm a growing real estate agent. I'm growing a real estate team. We're going to build a culture. So usually what I would say is, yes, number one, there's a model for it. And so Landon has access to that and can kind of help you out in terms of determining your P&L. What I'm always looking at is I'm not looking at the annualized payment for someone because I don't hire anyone for an entire guaranteed year, right? Missouri is a 30-day basically kind of deal, or I hire them for 30 days. So 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, they have benchmarks they need to hit as they grow. And then ongoing, they have key performance indicators that tell me whether they're doing the job well or not. Missouri is not a right to work state. So, you can hire and fire, people can quit or stay on, kind of however they need to. I will say, Noah, that really, really super powerful administrative help that's extremely experienced and all these things, they're going to be expensive. You don't need that most of the time for your first hire. You need someone who's going to link arms with you and go, fight the dragons. And that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for a process, organized mind. You're going to link up and go. All right, there it is, Landon. MRE tells you 30% of gross income allocated towards salaries. This includes if you take a salary yourself. I would agree with that. The other thing that you could do, Noah, is you could do a smaller base with a bonus. So if they're going to be doing your TC, if they're going to be doing listing management, you can do a bonus. And then even as your organizations mature, you can then do net profit splits, things like that. So there's a lot of ways to pay people other than a guaranteed salary. We typically will do base plus bonus. That's how we like to do it. All right. What does my employment agreement look like? It's a pretty standard employment agreement, honestly. And it's Missouri. So it's, 30 days, terminations if we need to, or terminations on the spot for cause, that kind of thing. And say likewise, if they find something else they want to leave, they can. But our employment agreement is very simple, right? There's a salary, there's information around licensure, there's information around database protection. There's non-solicits for our database. So if someone leaves, they can't just go sell to all of our customers again. Some pretty basic stuff. There's some really good templates for that inside of KW. So you can email Landon for those. We're always happy to share ours, but there are some, kind of stock ones out there as well. All right. Is there a perfect number? I think I've got all the questions. Anyone else have anything else? Can you send me that agreement? Yeah, we can. Sam just left, but Sam can send that agreement. But that doesn't bother. Yes, we have an outline for you. Oh, there you go. Nicole probably has a better one that probably is more kosher than the one I use. And we use them differently. So as you continue to grow, you've got admin and agents, that kind of thing. Okay. You guys ready? Can I keep going? Are we good? We good on time? I know that like technically I'm supposed to be done now. So you've already gotten the gist of it. You know whether you're not, you need to hire. Okay. So you've been tallying. So you guys should have a number now. Based on your number, I'm going to kind of give you a few suggestions onto some leverage pieces that you could immediately implement. So these are your next step action items if you want. Okay, right away, if you're 5 or more, you need to hire an in-person admin. Okay. If you have 5 of these or more, you are hiring an in-person admin. And some of you guys are like, oh, I didn't want to hear that. You're on this Zoom for a reason. You wanted to hear that. You wanted someone to tell you you need to go hire. Okay. If you are between 3 and 5, you need to go hire Onward Agent Services. It's just the way it is. You need to hire Onward Agent Services, and you need to hire Shanna as a coach. That's where you need to be. Pretty straightforward. I would even argue, depending on your production level, you should have a coach regardless. So I hired a coach and an admin at the same time, or I started that process. My coach helped me hire my admin. Like that's the coolest part, right? So I went and got a MAPS coach for $1,000 a month. That kind of hurt. It was a lot of money. And then I immediately told the MAPS coach, I'm hiring an admin. They were like, great. I said, how do I do it? And that MAPS coach literally walked me through it call by call throughout the weeks as I would set things up, Indeed ads. Here's how we do job descriptions, that kind of thing. That was amazing. So hire the coach. They'll help you hire the admin. That's a big hack. MAPS is fantastic about it, and they have access to all the models, all the systems that Landon's going to be sending out as well. And they've been trained to coach on it, which is really big. We got a cat. Let's go, Corey. Let's go. I love it. That's so good. All right. So if we're 3 to 5, you definitely need to go hire Onward Agent Services. They are transaction coordination. They can do marketing. They can run signs and lock boxes to you if you're in the Springfield area. Absolutely fantastic organization. The gals that are in there are wonderful. Megan actually has done a lot of my TC in the past. So fantastic, fantastic group. They're wonderful. Go hire them. That'll give you some of that time back if you're in that 3 to 5. That'll give you some breathing room. That way you can then turn and say, okay, now I'm going to gear up and focus on learning how to delegate and then go back and hire the admin. Okay. If you're below 3, so, if you're 1 and 2, you're starting to feel that pain. This is the point where I'm going to start writing down all of my pain points. So if you only had 2 or 3 of these, if you were, let's say difficulty delegating and overwhelmed by administrative tasks. Okay, I'm going to write those down, and then I'm going to write down all the things I think I would have difficulty delegating, and also write down all of the administrative tasks I'm having problems with. And this is going to sound crazy and like a shameless plug, but I'm going to call Shanna, and I'm going to say, hey, Shanna, here are the things I wrote down. Can you help me? Right? And Shanna might say, you're really not in the place where you need a full-time MAPS coach yet. She might say, you're maybe not even in the place where you need Onward Agent Services yet. But she might say, have you ever thought of utilizing this feature in Command? Oh, duh, right? Nicole's going to be another great opportunity. If it's administrative, if it's technology, if it's just kind of figuring out the kinks and the processes and you're having a hard time with that, I'm calling Nicole and saying, okay, Nicole, I know there's some systems out here that can help me. What are those systems, right? That's what I'm doing. Now, I was helping my kids get snow attire. Fantastic. Command. Yeah, there you go, Nicole. I love it. Okay, now we're going to tie this stuff together, and this is the emotional heart coming out of Wes. Okay, over here on the board, we've got some things. This comes directly out of The One Thing. I don't know if you guys have read that book. It's a pretty good one. It's written by a guy named Gary. Gary writes about 7 key areas of your life. And I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to move this whole TV screen in. Oh, you guys are getting car sick on me, aren't you? Okay, there we go. Can we see this a little better? I've got business, job, money. Those are separate, by the way. Those are different things. You can have a fantastic business and have no money. That's actually a thing. So business, job, money, physical health, key relationships and love, your mental and emotional health, spiritual health, friendships, and community. Okay. These are 7 key areas of your life. 7 circles exercise. There you go. If you want to actually take the exercise, you can. It's not what we're doing today, but those are the same key areas. You want to hear something crazy? This came out of John Mark Comer's book. "92% of your anxiety." Is this backwards for you guys? Okay, you can see it. Okay, it's backwards for me looking at it. Whew, got me there. 92% of your anxiety comes from the bottom 6 on this list. Think about that. Think about that. Oftentimes, as salespeople, we reverse that. We think 92% comes from here and 8% comes from down here. Statistically, that's not the case. 92% of your anxiety is coming from money, physical health, key relationships and love, mental and emotional health, spiritual health, friendships, and community. For me, that set me back. I was like, whoa, that's not true at all. Like, real estate sales sucks. This is the most stressful job of all time, right? That's where I came from. And I'm approaching this, thinking through it, and I'm going, why is real estate sales stressful? Well, is it stressful because my physical health is failing? And so I'm leaning too deep into work and I'm not actually taking care of me, right? Am I experiencing anxiety because of the food I'm eating or my lack of mindfulness? Or is it because I'm isolated? I'm alone. I don't have anyone to do this with, right? 92% of your anxiety comes from these 6 categories, which was like scary for me. Like, personally, I got through this and was very convicted, very like, oh no, I got to change something here. Sorry, I got to move this a little bit because we're going to keep drawing on the whiteboard. Okay. This then I paired with Stephen Covey's exercise, and you guys have heard this, because there's a phrase about things in life. And this phrase is, I'm so busy, right? That was the key phrase that if you heard a real estate agent say that, you needed to cue in on, oh, they're so busy, they need help. What's really interesting though, is there's another phrase and they describe it as the tyranny of the urgent. So what takes people away from investing in these 6 things? It's the urgency that comes from this one. Does that make sense? So there's an actual coined phrase, and it's the tyranny of the urgent. Tyranny is such a wild word because when you think about tyrannical leaders, you think of people like Joseph Stalin, right? Mussolini, Hitler, like those are tyrannical leaders, right? So we're calling the tyranny of the urgent. What does that mean? Your urgency, your busyness is wreaking havoc in your life. You're like, okay, Wes, thanks. This is exciting. I love this. You're the best. Yay. I'm going to go, compare myself to Benito. No, that's not what we're doing. We're going to figure out how to organize these things into useful quadrants. Okay. So this exercise was developed by Stephen Covey. It comes directly out of the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And its job or its focus was to help solve this problem. Okay. We can get to it pretty quickly today, I think. You guys can draw this if you want to. Basic quadrants. Okay. Up here, I've got urgent and non-urgent. Okay. So we're going to do a little like quadrant chart here. Urgent, non-urgent. Then we have important. And we have non-important. Yeah, I'll do non. How about? Okay. So this quadrant should be used in your hiring. It should be used every day when you wake up. It should be used whenever you're feeling a little blue. It should be used when you're feeling happy. It should just be this kind of lens that you kind of view things through to help you understand where you're at in your day and in your personality and in yourself. You can look at all of these things and categorize the different activities and actions and needs and wants based through this quadrant. Okay. Now here's the interesting part. Continue moving you guys a little bit. If you said, all right, Wes, I'm a real estate agent. Where should I spend most of my time? Like, what's my dollar producing activity, my most dollar producing activity? I would encourage you guys right now, just take your finger and put it on whatever square you think your most dollar producing activities live in. So go ahead and do that. Is it urgent, important things? Is it urgent, but not important things? Is it important, but not urgent, not important, and not urgent? Probably not that one, right? Okay, we can go ahead and say, this is not the square. Okay. What does that mean? If your most dollar producing activities, the things that give you the most life, the things that are most helpful for you don't live in this square, everything that could be categorized in this square, they either need to be done by someone else. So someone else's task, or, and this is most likely, not done at all. Just don't do it, right? Not done. Okay. Let me give you an example of this. Okay. This is a funny one because we all do it as real estate agents. Personally branded signs. Okay. It's the most useless, non-important, non-urgent thing ever. Now, a sign writer with your name and phone number on it, super important. I cannot think of a bigger waste of money in our industry than a billboard and a personally branded sign. Right? Two things, the most non-important and non-urgent thing of all time. Now, let me give you another, yeah, there you go, billboards, bam, got it. Yeah. Now, caveat, if that billboard said, you know, I buy houses cash, call me, that's different. If it just says Dustin Langston Group phone number, useless. And I called him out because I told him that the other day at the coffee shop. He's a friend. Yeah, it's not a thing. I love that guy. It's okay. Actually, Kurt and I just spent the weekend together. All right. Anyway, someone else's task, or it's not done at all. No, just useless, right? Another good example is this one Nicole might not like. Sorry, Nicole. Perfectly tagging your database. So does this person have a pet? Does this person do they ride motorcycles, right? You know, people get so detailed on their tags. They spend all this time tagging their database with all these crazy things that you hear on James Shaw's stuff and all this other nonsense. And they fail to just simply call the person, right? So they spend all this time, this non-important and non-urgent. Now, I'm not saying that those things have no value. I'm just saying that they should be someone else's tasks. Or you should just say, I can grow without doing them, right? That's that quadrant. All right, now give me your guess. Where is the most dollar producing activities for a real estate agent? What quadrant are those found in? Give me your guess.
I hope they're urgent and important.
Urgent and important?
I
No.
wish.
I know, they're actually not. So the highest dollar producing activity for a real estate agent is the important and not urgent. So this is a really interesting phenomenon because Shanna's right. We spend most of our time, right? That's a clock. We spend most of our time right there. And yet it's not the most dollar producing thing, right? The 5 things we talked about, the first 2 were script practice and lead generation. Those live over here. I'm going to put education and lead gen. Those things actually live in that one, right? There's no urgency around lead generation. We try to create it, right? So we do things like dial days or giveaways or whatever. We try to create urgency around it, but it actually lives over here. The urgent things are what we spend our time on. That's negotiating contracts, showing houses, that kind of thing. Now, this one down here, urgent and not important. Oh my gosh. These ones are the ones that get under my skin. This is the 900 emails that I really don't want to respond to, but I also don't want my inbox looking like that, right? So this right here, this is delegate. So a good example right here on this delegate, anything Onward Agent Services can do lives in that box. Literally anything that that organization can do for you lives there. Is that fair? Right? That's what they're built for. Now, what's interesting is that can go further and further, right? So they'll run signs and lock boxes, but they won't run to the hospital to have your client sign that closing paperwork because they fell and broke their leg. Right? Shannon knows. Shannon knows. Yeah, it happens. This crazy stuff happens. Urgent and not important. That might be a phone call of someone who's at a house right now and the lockbox is frozen to the ground. Is it really that important right now? Not at all. No. And I'm not going to go risk my life on the north side of town to get that lockbox. So I'm sorry, right? But technically that would be something we would delegate. I don't know, there's a million things. Going to closings right there, right? So we tend to spend our time though on the urgent and the important. So that's going to look like contract negotiations. That's going to look like making sure I responded to the right emails. I responded to text messages. Lead follow-up lives in that category. There's a lot of like, hey, I need this, can you do this, can you do this, that kind of stuff. It lives right there. That does produce an income, right? It's on the important line, but it is a lag measure. So for those of you that are familiar with, I forget what it's called, the 4 disciplines of execution, there's lead measures and there's lag measures. Lead measures are things like dials, right? Number of contacts you make, appointments you go on. Lag measures are things like contracts, signed, closings, all the stuff that happens after the under contract phase. So over here, I'm going to put lag measures. And over here, we already have lead gen, but I'm going to go ahead and put lead measures. Okay. So now I've kind of familiarized you guys with what this looks like in terms of a real estate agent's work, right? We've done it for business and job. That's where we've done it. We've got our matrix for it. What's really unique is every single one of these things has a very similar matrix to it, right? So if I think about it, let's go physical health because I think that's an easy one to do. Physical health, urgent and important. Anyone give me an example of something that would be urgent and important in your physical health?
Drinking your water.
Drinking water. That's right. Urgent and important. I don't know if that'd be urgent. Maybe if you're like dying of thirst, right? That would actually
Maybe
live
somebody
here.
who just recently became diabetic, right?
Yeah.
Due to poor health conditions.
There we go. Yeah, in the chat, same thing. ER trips. That's a great example, Clayton. Yeah. That is urgent and it's important. You got to go. Or if you have high blood pressure, making sure you're taking that medication. That's urgent and important, right? So those things will live here. Now, I don't know about you guys, but very rarely in my physical health do I do something that's urgent and important that is a result of me being healthy. Does that make sense? So it's a lag measure. The things I'm doing here are because I fell and broke my leg, or because I wasn't living the lifestyle physically that I know I should have been and cultivated high blood pressure, or even a lag measure of, genetic blood pressure issues handed down, right? So those are all lag measures that live here. Important and non-urgent physicality might be going on the jog. It might be planning your meals out a little bit better and including a very balanced diet. Eating whole foods and fresh foods, organic foods versus processed, sugary, just gross stuff. I don't know. I'm for those of you that know me, I haven't had fast food in like almost 20 years. So I'm weird about it. I was raised in Oregon. It's different. But all that being said, like there are specific things over here that we can do that if we think through this really impact us. Now, here's a fun fact. Every single system in business and life is going to get you the exact results that it produces. Every system gets the exact results it produces. Okay. So if you want different results, you got to have a different system. Okay. That's what we're talking about with hiring an administrative assistant. If up here, we can develop a system for creating transactions and a system for leverage, we need to be taking that extra time and coming down here and cultivating the appropriate systems in our lives as well. And system's such a funky word. It's like robot, like, oh, I have a spiritual system. Like, that's not what we're talking about. A system sometimes is simply a checklist of, hey, I know if I do these things, I'll have success, right? So maybe for spirituality, it's spending some time meditating, right? Attending a church service, going to a community gathering around something you're passionate about. I don't care what that looks like. Physical health is going to be, okay, I know I need to do these workouts. I need to have at least this many calories. Nicole, I need to drink this much water, and I need my 10,000 steps, and I need my 8 hours of sleep, right? I don't really care what your system is. I care what results it's getting. So right now, if our business and job is giving us these 10 signs, that likely means down here we have very underdeveloped systems and we're experiencing that 92% anxiety, right? So how do we inverse this? How do we make sure that this 92% goes significantly down, right? And I mean, I guess as a percentage of anxiety, that's not really what I'm saying, but how do we reduce our anxiety across all of these levels? By spending as much time there and developing systems like we just did for our business and job in these different categories for here, right? The number one way to reduce your anxiety that we believe spawns from business and job, but actually doesn't, right, is to hire and delegate. If you can delegate tasks and you can earn your time back, you can implement some of those basic systems. Maybe you need to Dave Ramsey yourself a little bit, right? Maybe we need to really focus in on our physical health. Landon and I were talking before this. Landon has had a wonderful transformation over the past like 6-7 months. It's amazing. He's got a system, a routine, a focus around that. Key relationships and love. Oh, stab me in the heart. That's an easy one. We're talking about that life balance. That's the one I kind of get out of balance on, right? Mental and emotional. I don't know about you guys. I'm a pretty like normal American guy who does not like talking about feelings very much. And so that's been an interesting one. But that also includes things like meditating. It includes things like journaling, right? There's a lot that can go into your mental and emotional health. Spiritual, and we talked about that 3 or 4 times. And then friendships and community. Do you have a system for connecting with the people and the parts of your life and your communities that also bring you life? The things that you're passionate about, are you giving back? What does that look like? Utilize the admin up here so that you can spend your time right here in these areas of life. That's what we're trying to do. So when we're really going through these 10 pieces are all just key indicators that you're not living in this quadrant. And you're always going to have something. Don't get me wrong. There's no perfect here. There will always be something. But if you're feeling those 10, and we're talking about a scale on each of them, if you're like, oh, I'm running red line on not being able to delegate very well, that's a big sign that your other pieces in your life are probably suffering. Yay. On that note, we're through. That's the actual value, right? The reason that we leverage is to recuperate the real life. You know, business and job, it's going to come and go. You know, my dad's had 13 different jobs over his career as a generation that really didn't change jobs, right? I look at my own life, and I've already done 4 or 5 things. I mean, that's pretty, like, you know, I've got colleagues and friends that have had 10 different jobs and they're in their early 30s. You know, it's very common for people to always be looking for the change up here versus figuring out how they can systemize through leverage and other people to be able to recuperate the things that they actually value the most. Because you guys are probably like me. If you said, Wes, on your deathbed, what do you want to be remembered for? It's not, he sold houses, you know. Like, I mean, Gary says he wants realtor on his deathstone or on his headstone. That's fine. I think that's really more of a joke. You know, he wants to be known as someone who fought for the real estate industry and impacted people at a high level through making sure these things are there. And ironically, when you hear Gary talk, he's actually talking about these things. I don't know if you guys have noticed that over the last 5 years. He went from almost always talking business and job to these things. That's a huge shift in him. Like he's seeing some wisdom. He's giving that to us a little bit. All right, friends. I love you all. I'm here for some more questions if you need. I've got 9 more minutes. If you don't have any questions, no worries. I'm going to rewatch it. Thank you, Noah. You're too sweet. Oh my gosh. Stay safe, everybody. I'm gonna put my info in here if you need anything. Give you my phone number real quick.
He disappeared.
I know, sorry, my computer's just below the screen. All right, there you go. That's me. If you guys have any questions or you want to come by, let me know. And then Sam's not on here anymore. I know some of you guys threw your info in the chat. I did not get that written down. So if you guys want to send me an email, we can send you copies of our job descriptions and stuff like that as well. All right, friends. Thank you guys so much for spending your morning with me. Stay safe. It's really gross out there.
Thanks, Les.
Always seem to be pretty good.